podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
The Two-Footed Podcast is brought to you by EPLindex.com and our presenting sponsor, Liberty Shield. Liberty Shield is a VPN provider. A virtual privacy network allows you to go online, change your location, access things you're geo-blocked from, while keeping your data safe. So, as an example, if you are a UK expat and want access to BBC iPlayer to watch Match of the Day, or ITV Hub, or all four, will you get that message that says this content is not available in your location? A Liberty Shield VPN gets you around that block, allows you to watch whatever you want on those services, while also keeping your data safe. And it goes further than that. It allows you to open up Netflix's entire library by just changing your IP address. Liberty Shield is the #1 rated VPN provider on Trustpilot with 5-star ratings across the board. So go to libertyshield.com right now, use the code EPL25 and get either the hardware package or the software package. The hardware package is a router that you plug into your existing router, and any item you want to change the IP address on, be it your phone or your television, you connect that to the new Liberty Shield router. All other items can remain connected to your existing router. There's also a software package which is instantly downloadable to your device and you can get using straight away. Again, libertyshield.com, EPL25 for 25% off at checkout. We're also brought to you by Home of Hopcroft, a giftware and homeware company located in Scotland but shipping worldwide. Check out homeofhopcroft.co.uk and do check out the EPL Index and Anfield Index shops, which you'll find on Etsy. Use the codes EPL10 or RED10 for 10% off at checkout. And lastly, do remember to check out A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. That podcast is on this feed before every Premier League match week. And then the EPL Roundtable, hosted by Kevin DeVries, on its own EPL Roundtable feed. So just search EPL Roundtable in your podcast device. And that's out after every match week. Now, on with the show. What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Thursday. It is the 11th of July. And the finals of both the Copa America and the Euros are now set. Weather update. Decent today. Cloudy, but decent. We had football last night. We had two huge games. Let's start with England 2, the Netherlands 1. Xavi Simons puts the Netherlands 1-0 up on 7 minutes. He does brilliantly to dispossess Rice, who falls on the floor for no apparent reason. Drives at the defence and then smashes a really good shot that the goalkeeper should save. I think a goalkeeper with full-size arms saves that shot. But in it goes anyway. It's very well struck. Take nothing away from Simons, but take everything away from the Netherlands, because as soon as they scored, they retreated into their shell as per the instructions of Ronald Koeman. On 18 minutes, England were level. A lot of controversy over this. Ball into the box. Harry Kane swings to volley it, sails his volley over the bar. On his follow-through, he catches Denzel Dumfries' foot. Now, Denzel Dumfries has a right to try and block that shot. I think it's a dreadful penalty. The referee doesn't even give it. VAR call him over and tell him to look at it. I think it's an absolutely horrendous call, personally. I know it's a foul everywhere else in the pitch, but it shouldn't be. Like, if I kick through the ball and I kick the sole of your foot, how are you the one committing the foul if I'm kicking you? It shouldn't be a foul. It just shouldn't be. And England should not have had a penalty. But Kane, having rolled around on the floor and pretended his foot was broken, steps up, and it's a really good penalty from Harry Kane. It's the only good thing he did in the game. England were good from when they scored up until about 55 minutes into the game. Now, much of that is down to the Netherlands ceding possession to them, ceding territory to them, Memphis Depay having to go off injured and being replaced by the awful Joey Verman. And then at half-time, taking off Daniel Malen, the only bit of pace left in that Netherlands attack, and bringing on Wout Weghorst, you might as well have planted a tree for all the good he was going to do. He's a 20-minute player at this level. Nothing more than that. Joshua Zirkzee, if you wanted to bring on a striker, Joshua Zirkzee was the player to bring on. Why Zirkzee wasn't brought on from Memphis, I don't know. Then you could have brought on Frimpong for Malen if you wanted to make that change. It's just really odd the way Koeman has gone about this. We saw in the last two games the starting right winger be Steven Bergwijn. He doesn't even get off the bench in this one. Just very, very strange. The game seemed to be petering out. England were pretty poor after the kind of 55, 60 minute mark. And it looked like it would be the Netherlands who'd go on to win the game if either team was going to find a winner. Now, the referee is a figure of immense controversy. This is, of course, the referee who was banned for match fixing many years ago and probably shouldn't be working in football anymore, Felix Zweier. He's the same referee Jude Bellingham got a significant fine for criticising a couple of years ago after he made some very, very strange decisions in a game between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. Gary Neville said the penalty was a disgrace. Now, again, it wasn't the referee's call, it was the VAR. But if you watch the rest of the game, every 50-50, and even things that are 60-40 in the Netherlands' favour, go to England. Including two incidents right before England get their winner. One is a very clear Dutch corner that he gives a goal kick for, and then books Van Dijk for complaining. And the other is a free kick that's never a free kick that leads to the passage of play in which Cole Palmer, who's come on for Phil Foden, picks the ball up and slips in Ollie Watkins, who's come on for Harry Kane. It's a little bit telling that Kane has been withdrawn in multiple games. He's not playing well. Foden's not playing well. Bellingham's not playing well. But Mainu had a good game. Not great, but good. Rice was pretty shaky. Trippier was flat out poor. Saka remains England's best player in the tournament. But when Palmer slips the ball to Watkins, De Vrij has that under control, but doesn't get his feet right. Watkins shoots from a tight angle through the legs into the far corner. It's brilliant from Watkins. De Vrij should do better. He should never be allowing that player to get a shot away from there. But England have reached the final of their second successive Euros. They have not played well to any real extent in this tournament. Yesterday was the first time you could say they looked like they had any idea of what they were meant to be doing. And now they face Spain, who've been outstanding throughout the tournament, who've been the best team by a country mile. And if things carry on the way they have, England will spawn their way to victory. And Gareth Southgate will get a knighthood. And then in 20, 30 years, people are going to pretend he was a good manager, which would just be hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. In the Copa America, Colombia booked their place in the final. And while the Netherlands-England game was not a particularly good game, this was an exciting game. Colombia go 1-0 up on 39 minutes through Jefferson Lerma. On the stroke of half-time, Daniel Munoz of Crystal Palace is sent off for a second yellow card. Colombia come out for the second half with 10 men, bed into basically a 4-3-1 shape with Luis Diaz tasked with being the attack. And Uruguay, because Bielsa had himself a shocker, couldn't break them down. Bielsa made the decision to change away from the 4-2-3-1 that had worked so well because they had defensive injuries and suspensions to go to a 3-2-4-1, and it just didn't work for Uruguay. They created very little. The two best chances they had in the game fell to Darwin Núñez, who created both of them himself. Suarez probably had the biggest chance, but he fluffed his lines. Uruguay are out, and Uruguay will take on Canada in the third and fourth place playoff, while Colombia move forward to take on Argentina. And this is a really interesting game, because Colombia have been, I think, pretty good in this tournament. And I think Argentina have also been really good, bar that Ecuador game. And I think people are underrating the Argentine team, but they've also underrated Colombia up until this point. Now, it's worth pointing out, Colombia have only ever won the Copa America once. They won it in 2001 when they hosted it. And I think, I could be wrong, I think if they were to win this would be the greatest achievement in the history of Colombian football. It's only the third time they've ever gotten to a final. They were runners-up in 1975. They've gotten to the semi-finals and lost on 7 different occasions. 87, 93, 95, 2016 and 2021, they went on and won the third and fourth place playoff. In 91 and 04, they lost that third and fourth place playoff. I think this would, because the first time they won it, they were at home. And I don't think it's as impressive if you win it on your home soil. So I think this would be the greatest achievement in the history of the Colombian national team. Now, in 1975, they lost to Peru in the final. That one was played... That was played in Venezuela that year. In 2001, when they did win it, they beat Mexico in the final. Honduras were third and Uruguay were fourth. Honduras finishing third suggests it wasn't the strongest of Copas. So let's see, that year they topped their group with Chile, Ecuador and Venezuela. Brazil topped Group B, which had Mexico, Peru and Paraguay. In Group C, Costa Rica, Honduras and Uruguay, with Bolivia.
This podcast is sponsored by Ramp. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. With Ramp, you get full visibility into your company's spending and control who spends what with each vendor. Ramp software collects and verifies receipts instantly to save your team valuable time. Ramp automates data entry and routine tasks with automated approvals, expense categorization and bill payments, time-consuming tasks. Which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. Get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/easy. Ramp.com/easy. RAMP.com/easy.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
So Argentina withdrew from the competition. Argentina and Canada withdrew from the competition. They were replaced by Costa Rica and Honduras. Interesting. Yeah, not the strongest of Copas, but look, Colombia went on and won it, so they don't care. They don't care at all whether it was strong or not. Yeah, I have to believe that this is the best. This would be the best achievement in Colombian football history. Now, their historical record against Argentina isn't great. They've played them 40 times. They've won only 9. 11 draws, 20 defeats. They have some other countries that they've got poor records against, but I'm looking at specifically South American countries. They've only played Ireland once and lost that one game. We're going to come to Ireland a little bit later. They've got a negative record against Uruguay, against Mexico, and against Brazil. Not surprising with Brazil or with Argentina. They've also got a negative record against Chile. It's a funny thing, like we always think of Colombia as a pretty strong footballing nation, but I mean, historically, they've been behind most of their South American rivals. I mean, if we think of Chile, they've won the Copa twice, 15 and 16. They've been to 6 different finals, and they've gotten to the semi-finals at least on 22 occasions, as opposed to the 9 occasions that the Colombians have gotten there. Uruguay have won the competition an insane amount of times, 15 in total, 21 finals, 30 top 3 finishes, which, shows the power that they had back in the 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s and 50s, and 60s, to be fair. They had a resurgence in the 80s. They were decent in the 90s, and then obviously they've been quite a strong team since sort of 2010 onwards, when that kind of Suarez, Godin, Cavani kind of generation all sort of developed together. Argentina are chasing their 16th Copa America, and they are, of course, the reigning champions. Brazil have won it 9 times, been runners-up 12 times. Argentina, this will be their 30th final. That's really impressive. Really impressive. Now, they've obviously had long droughts where they haven't won this competition. For example, they won 3 times in the 1950s, and then after 1959, didn't win it again until 1991. Then they won it in 93, and then they didn't win it again until 2021. It is kind of noticeable that Argentina tend to win this competition in bursts. Like, they win it in 45, 40. Back then it was played every year, but they win it in 45, 46 and 47. Then when it goes to every 2 years, they kind of win it every second year, every second edition, and then they fall off. I think Argentina have to be favourites. I really do. Like, there's a lot to be said for this Colombian team. They're really well organised. They play for each other. I think Néstor Lorenzo has done an excellent job. He's obviously Argentinian. Coming up against his homeland is going to be a little bit of, he's going to have a little bit of nationalistic pride regardless. So he has to be in a bit of a quandary regarding this. But look, they've gone 25 games without losing under him. They've never lost under this manager. They're unbeaten in 2 years. 25 games, 19 wins, 6 draws. 76% win rate. That's really impressive. And if he can cap it with a win, it would be historic. It would be historic if Colombia could go on and win this Copa, especially given they didn't qualify for the last World Cup, which is how he got the job to begin with. He's been an assistant manager with Argentina. He was a long-time assistant from 2000 when he went into coaching up until 2019. He was an assistant. Then in 2019, he'd been the assistant manager of Colombia for 7 years. He decided to move on spent some time studying other coaches, took a job with Melgar, who play in the Peruvian league, spent 2 years there, won the league, and then got the Colombian job. And he's done a really impressive stint in charge. And possibly the weirdest thing about his career, given he started off with Argentinos Juniors and finished with Boca Juniors while also playing for San Lorenzo, Banfield, Bari in Italy back when the Italian clubs were spending money in the run-up to 1990 World Cup. After leaving Bari after a year, he played for Swindon Town. Played for Swindon Town for 2 years. That's magnificent. 27 games, 2 goals. Fantastic stuff. It's funny the random things you discover by just going down wormholes on people. Yeah, like I say, I do quite like parts of this Colombian team. There's good players in that defence. Like, if you look at the defence that starts, yes, like Muniz is good. Davinson Sanchez, he's a good player. It's a weird thing where he went to Spurs and it was just the wrong move for him. He wasn't quite ready for that level. He'd been really, really impressive with Ajax, and when he went to Spurs, it just wasn't quite right. I quite like Cuesta, who plays at centre-back next to him. He's at Genk. He's got something about himself. Now, I'm surprised he hasn't left Belgium yet, but maybe he's comfortable. He's still only 25, though. And then starting at left-back, Mojica, who's been around a long time now, playing for Osasuna. He's done the rounds in Europe, had countless loans. I think he's still owned by Villarreal, but still a good player. Daniel Muniz of the starting defenders is the best of them. I really like Lucini of Bologna. I think he's a quality player. What will be curious is if Santiago Arias comes in at right back for Munoz. I assume that will be the case. I assume that is what the plan will be. Because the other option is moving a centre-back out. So Arias has been around. He's seen and done it all. So he won't be overawed by the situation. The goalkeeper, Vargas, he's very experienced at 35. Doesn't have a huge amount of caps because obviously David Ospina was first choice for a long time. In the midfield, Rios is really impressive and has been for Palmeiras. Obviously, Jefferson Lerma, we know all about, proving quality in the Premier League. The line of attackers is where they're interesting. Jan Arias is a player I'm not hugely familiar with, plays for Fluminense. Obviously, everybody knows James Rodriguez, everybody knows Luis Diaz, and then it's Cordoba, young Cordoba, who's at Krasnodar, up front on his own, and he gets through a hell of an amount of work. He's another one that's sort of been a bit of a journeyman. Came to Europe on a loan with Espanyol back in 2013, went to Granada, was at Mainz for 2 years, spent 3 years with Cologne, a year with Hertha Berlin. He's been with Krasnodar now for 3 years, and he's only become part of the national team picture in the last 12 months or so. His international debut was in 2013. I'm just trying to figure out if we can see when. No. Don't have a date for it, but he's been in the national team for a year or so, and he's established himself as the preferred pick up front, despite the fact that they do have Jan Duran in the squad. They do have Sinistera in the squad. They have better known players, but he's the one the manager trusts. They've got Rafael Santos Bora, who's been in Europe and is a quality player. It's an interesting squad. They've got decent depth. You know, they've got leadership throughout. Quintero still in the squad. Uribe still in the squad. Then they've got some really, really good young players. Yasser Asprilla and Jan Duran being the two most obvious ones. But again, Rios, really, really good. He's still only 24, but he's only got 12 caps So he's young in that regard. Castano, who also plays with Krasnodar, I assume he will become more prevalent in the squad in years to come. Cuesta, Sinistera, they're about 25. Lusemi is 26. Carrascal, another midfielder, he plays with Dino in Moscow. Quite surprising that there's 3 Colombian lads playing the football in Russia. And Arias is 20. Jan Arias is 26. Luis Diaz is 27. Munoz and Sanchez, 28. Like, this is a squad that's going to be together for another few years. You've got Yerry Mina still in the squad as well. The hope is that he can just stay fit and be a reliable off-the-bench centre-back who can help you lock things down. It's a pretty good squad. I just don't think they've got quite enough to beat Argentina. Like, that Argentine squad is just very strong. Back to front, side to side, they're strong, they're deep, and they're experienced. Like, they're quality, experienced players. You know, they've got a couple of kids in the squad like Garnacho and Carboni, but Garnacho's playing week in, week out in the Premier League. Those are the 2 youngest in the squad. They're both 19. Actually, no, Garnacho's 20. Garnacho turned 20 the other day, so Carboni's 19. But after that, it's like Enzo Fernandez, he's 23. Julian Alvarez, 24. Alexis McAllister and Ezequiel Palacios, 25. Christian Romero, Nahuel Molina, Nicolas Gonzalez, Lisandro Martinez, Latura Martinez, they're all 26. You know, so this is a more experienced squad, but there's a really nice balance of age across it. And you've got the old heads who've been around and done it all. You know, Tagliafico, 31 years of age. Rulli, 32. Not hugely experienced, but in international terms, but has been at club level. Acuna is 32. Pizzala's 32. Di Maria is 36 and has 140 caps. Otamendi is 36, has 112 caps. Messi's 36, has 182 caps. Franco Armani is the interesting one in that he's 37, didn't get a national team call-up until he was 32, has 19 caps, but he's been, for the longest time, a really good goalkeeper who had to take an unusual path to get where he wanted to go. Played for 2 smaller clubs in Argentina. At the age of 24, got the opportunity to go to Colombia and play for Medellin. Did very well there. Came back. Just for the record, while he was there, he won 6 league titles, 3 cups, 2 Super Cups, and the Copa Libertadores. Since coming back, he has won 2 titles, 3 cups, and the Libertadores again. So, you know, and he's been a squad player at both of the last 2 tournaments, the Copa America and the World Cup. He's invaluable to the squad, and he's had himself a really strong club career when it didn't initially happen for him. Like I said, he was 24 when he got his opportunity to go abroad and prove himself. And to win the Libertadores twice with 2 different clubs, that's pretty impressive. I really like the Argentine squad. I picked them to win it before the tournament. I've seen nothing to suggest I should change that. I think it's just the best squad, the deepest squad, the most balanced squad. And they're going for 3 in a row, like they are going for history. It's only ever been done once. Spain, 08, 10, 12. Argentina now have a chance to join them. And they've got Messi, who, despite the fact he is carrying an injury, is going to be the best player on the pitch. And they've got Alvarez, they've got McAllister, they've got DePaul, they've got Enzo Fernandez, they've got Di Maria. Like, that's a very formidable midfield and attack. And that defence, particularly if Lisandro Martinez starts left back, that defence is strong. Like, it is strong. And they'll not be fazed by anything. I'm very much looking forward to this final. I'm looking forward to this one much more than the other one. I think this has been the better tournament. I think my prediction before the tournament that the 16-team Copa was the right number, the right formula. And my hope is that they will stick with it, that they will stick with the North and South America system. I'm not sure if they will. I don't know if a decision has been made on that, but I really do think they should. I really do think they should stick with it. I think it is the best formula for getting a high-level competition. I don't think it works as well when it's just the South American countries. I think when you add in the others from North America and Central America, it just makes it a lot more interesting and a lot more competitive, because I know the US didn't do well, but the US are a good team. They've sacked Greg Berhalter. They'll be even better in 4 years. Canada are a good team, a growing football nation. Mexico are a really good team when the mood strikes them. I think there's promise in the likes of Jamaica and Panama and that. So I say more of it. More of it. And you know what? I wouldn't be adverse to seeing the AFCON and Asian Cup come together and form one competition, because I think that would make those competitions more competitive as well. Now, the AFCON is competitive, but there's a number of teams in it that really are just there to make up numbers and get embarrassed. And I think the same is true in the Asian Cup. So I'd like to see AFCON and Asia come together, even just once, and see how it works. Just see how it works. I think it will be a success. More on the two finals tomorrow then, back after the break. Right, welcome back. So it is Thursday and we're back to listeners' questions. So I think we have 3 or 4 today. First one is from AMK2889. I'm really liking that the Copa America doesn't have extra time. Straight to pens if the games end in a draw. Would you be in favour of other tournaments going that way? World Cups, Euros, Champions League, Europa League, and so on. Absolutely. Absolutely, I would. I think there's too much football. I think players have been asked to play too much now, particularly in terms of summer competitions. Like, we've got this year. Next summer is that bizarre Club World Cup nonsense. The following summer then, we've got a World Cup. You've got AFCON and the Asian Cup coming at some point as well in January's. And I just think it's all too much, and it's having a negative toll or a negative impact on players' long-term health and careers. So if we can eliminate 30 minutes of extra time in certain games, like, it's not a huge change, but it's enough of a change to make a difference. And I think when you look at the Copa and you watch the semi-finals, I know there was a round less as well, which is, again, why I think 16 teams rather than 24. But the players look a lot fresher. There was nobody in either the France-Spain or England-Netherlands games that put in anywhere close to the type of shift that Luis Diaz put in. And that wouldn't have been possible if he'd had to play the extra round and extra time before the penalty shootout against Brazil. I think it benefits the players. I think it'll benefit the quality of games. I think you'll see more teams try and win the game because players and managers don't want to risk penalties. So absolutely I would. If I'm being completely honest, I'd kind of be in favour of adding penalty shootouts to league competition as a trial so that games don't end in draws. That if the game ends 1-1, 2-1, whatever, sorry, 1-1, 2-2, whatever, you have a penalty shootout, and the team that wins, rather than getting 3 points for a win, gets 2 points for the penalty shootout win, and then the team that loses just gets the 1 point. I think that would be really good. Again, it would need to be trialed, and maybe you don't trial it at the top level, but I think it's certainly something you could trial at lower levels. And I just think it would encourage teams to play a little bit braver. That, you can get, let's just say Arsenal against City this past season in the Premier League. Arsenal went there, Arteta parked the bus and set up for a draw. Because he thought, if we get a point and they get a point, we stay ahead. But if there had been the risk that potentially, you get a point, but City might get 2 points, then I think he would have approached it differently and tried to win the game. Arsenal ultimately might have won the league. So I definitely think for cup competitions, it should be the way. Abolish extra time. We tried all that silver goal and golden goal nonsense, and none of it really worked. Some of it was fun, but none of it really worked. Just scrap extra time altogether and go to penalties. Mikhail Campbell, what are your thoughts on Bielsa's comments about the state of football? So basically, Marcelo Bielsa said that people watch football for enjoyment, not just results. That if you prioritize results, the game loses the enjoyment. And it was very clearly directed at the likes of Pep Guardiola, who in recent years has very much turned his brand of football into a very sterile type of game. The same with Arteta at Arsenal. It's sterile stuff, risk adverse, go one up, bed back in, 4 to 5 centre-backs on the pitch, 6 defensive players, and let's just control space. And Bielsa's not about that. So I see his point. And admittedly, when I watch football that doesn't involve my team, I do enjoy a game where 2 teams just go hell for leather at each other and it turns into a basketball match and it's end to end. And I think there's a lot to be said for that as a type of enjoyment. But then I can also watch a game that's a really good tactical battle and ends 0-0 and fully enjoy it. But the thing is, for my own team, all I care about is results and winning. Like, I know it's not the dumb thing to criticize Jurgen Klopp, but if Klopp had prioritized winning over collecting relationships or whatever nonsense it was, he wouldn't have left with only 1 league title and 1 Champions League. Like, he left a lot of trophies on the table because of his approach to the game. Too much of a romantic. And Bielsa, we all admire him. The brand of football is wonderful. When he speaks, you listen. And, he's someone that you have to have a soft spot for. But ultimately, this is a man who's been managing for 34 years now at the highest level, club and country. He's won 2 league titles. Technically he's won 3 because he did win the championship with Leeds. But his 2 actual league titles came in his first 2 seasons with Newell's Old Boys. Oh, I tell a lie, he won one with Vélez Sarsfield as well. So he's won 4 titles in 34 years. 3 of them in Argentina, 2 of them in his first 2 years, and the other one was the championship. But when you look at his honours list, it includes Copa Libertadores runner-up, Copa del Rey runner-up, Europa League runner-up. Like, at club level, he's won 3 top-flight league titles, and all of them came in the 90s. 2 in his first 2 years, 1 in the 32 years since. At international level, he did win the Olympics. What that's worth, I don't know. And he was runner-up in the Copa America. But he won nothing with Atlas, nothing with Club America, nothing with Espanyol. Didn't win a major tournament with Argentina in the 6 years he was there. Didn't win anything with Chile. Didn't win anything with Bilbao. Didn't win anything with Marseille. I didn't stay at Lazio long enough to do anything. Won nothing with Lille. Like, he's a cult icon. Zeman was the same. Zdeněk Zeman was exactly the same. He was known for that incredibly fun team he built at Foggia. But that's a guy that managed from 1983 and was still managing this past season, up and down through different divisions in Italy. But yet, he's won Serie B twice and Serie C once. And that's it. Like, incredibly fun. I love watching Zeman teams play. Absolutely love watching Zeman teams play. But it's not winning football. It's not sustainable football. It's just... It is what it is, I suppose. You can take it in different ways. I do feel like the game has lost a lot of its individualism, ingenuity. I think players are having a lot of the freedom, that maverick nature that we used to see in players, coached out of them. Those type of players don't make it through academies anymore. Like, if Juan Roman Riquelme appeared aged 14 into any top-flight academy in Europe, he would never make it past under 16s. He just wouldn't. He might have a chance in South America, but he would go on to have a career where he never left South America and likely played at kind of second-tier clubs. He'd be like basically a Matt Letitia type. Now, he wouldn't have the career he had. Letitia wouldn't make it at all in the game now. I don't think Berbatov gets anywhere close to having the career he had. Carlos Valderrama, Juan Carlos Valerón, players like that who don't have... Like, we're prioritizing physicality now over technical ability. We're prioritizing tactical understanding over creativity, which, you know, there's benefits to both, but Jesus wept. The game is bland a lot of the time now. Like, really bland. And even players that should be incredibly exciting, like Bukayo Saka, it's being coached out of them. You watch Bukayo Saka play, and you can almost see his mind work through his options, not play off the cuff, not play on instinct. And when I say options, I mean he picks the ball up, cuts in field, and his immediate thought is, right, where's Ben White? I can give it to Ben, or I can give it back to Odegaard, or I can play that ball across to, be it Declan Rice, it was Xhaka before that, or can I switch it to Martinelli? The switch rarely happens. Too risky, you see. Even though Saka could pull it off probably 6 times out of 10, it's too risky. And he does all of those things before he'll consider, well, can I just drive at this guy and beat him? And if I can, why won't I just do that? He's constantly looking for that layoff back to Odegaard or that ball to Ben White because he's been automated. Because Arteta's attacking system is complete automations. Every bit of it is coached. There's no freedom. I think that's partly why Martinelli started to struggle. I don't think he works as well in that. And look, it works for Arsenal. I'm not criticising it, but, you know, you go back 15 years, and not to compare them as players, because Saka, as outstanding as he is, will never be Messi. But can you imagine if Messi had been told, right, first option is the overlap of Dani Alves. Second option is the simple ball back to Xavi. They were options 4 and 5 for Messi. He would look at all manner of other stuff because he'd play on instinct. He'd beat that first man and then he'd square it up again. Is there a pass? Is there a dribble? A progressive towards goal move. If not, then you look for the out balls. Then you look for the ball back to Alves or the ball back to Xavi. And that's the difference between what Pep Guardiola used to be and what he's become, because Arteta, for all the pomp and circumstance, is just a poor man's Pep Guardiola. So I agree with some of what Bielsa said, and I do think there's a lot that's been lost in the game, but ultimately, for my own team, all I really care about is winning. Alex has asked 2 questions. Don't know if you watched the USA versus Uruguay game in full, but the play on yellow card has to be the weirdest or the worst or strangest bit of refereeing I've seen. Yeah, I mean, I thought the game should have been stopped, but ultimately, I feel like referees are under quite a bit of pressure to let games flow. And then they're coming back for decisions that happen in an instant. And then other things have happened that they're also processing. And I just don't feel like I don't feel like referees get enough help. I feel like VAR is failing them in multiple different ways. And one of them is it's not providing quite enough guidance on yellow card events, for example. It's not providing him, like, people will say, oh, well, his linesman can do it, but the linesman's also sprinting full bore down the touchline. And he also might not have had the angle because of where he is. He might not have been looking back. He might be looking forward at the line. So it was poor, but I feel like it's circumstance rather than the individual referee's fault. Can you match each of the managers in the Euros and Copa America to a club job you think that will be a good fit? Does not have to be a job that is currently open. Probably can have a look at it anyway. Teams. Let's see now. All right. Okay, the easiest way to do this is to go through the squads. Right, Scaloni. I think he's very pragmatic. I think he's a good setup coach in terms of organization, preparation, breaking down the opposition, focusing on their weak points, and giving his players all the information. I think he's a very good communicator. In-game, he's not the best, but he's solid. Now, the brand of football is not the most exciting in the world, but it's very pragmatic and it works. I actually think someone like Scaloni is exactly what United need. Someone that's only focused on winning and it doesn't care about noise or doesn't care about, fancy football or anything like that. I think he's a guy that goes in there, doesn't bother with reputations, doesn't bother with, oh, well, this is where you want to play. Well, tough, I want you here, and puts players in the right positions to get the most of them. I think if you look at that United squad, I think he would get quite a bit out of them. You could play Bruno and Mount as the wide midfielders in the same way he, through the World Cup, often played Rodrigo de Paul on the right and Alexis McAllister on the left. Or he could leave Mount out and play Bruno and Garnacho wide, because he does like to have a pacey winger. His defensive shape and structure is solid. I think he'd have to play Martinez at left back. Delo suits him like a glove right back. He'd need centre backs. I'll go United for Scaloni. Fossati of Peru, he's a guy that's bounced around a lot. He's been a journeyman. It feels to me like he belongs in Serie A with, one of the clubs that just sort of cycles managers. Someone like a Cagliari. I think that's the kind of fit that works for him. Chile, Gareca. Again, very much a journeyman. Spent a long time with Peru. Kind of always an underdog. Did have a really good spell with Vélez Sarsfield and won a couple of titles. So, there is potential there to win things. Go somebody like Sevilla. Club that's won some stuff. Club that's generally an underdog. I think his brand of football would fit there as well. Because his squad is very much I use what I have available. He has been pretty open with the fact he's bringing those older players to the tournament because he doesn't really have much else, and he's trying to rinse every little bit out of them. And I feel like that's quite Sevilla-esque. Jesse Marsh, I still like Jesse Marsh. I still think there's a Premier League job out there for him. I'll go Nottingham Forest for him. Mexico, Jaime Lozano. We don't have much managerial experience outside of the national team. He was at one club for about 6 months, another for, I think, even less. Let's see. 31 games. Yeah, I mean, doesn't have a whole lot of experience. 112 games managed in his life. So I think you're probably looking at a championship club for him, like a second-tier club. I'll go with someone like Preston North End. Just, a club that doesn't have huge expectations, that are just looking to sort of be in the middle somewhere. I think that's him. Felix Sanchez of Ecuador. Now, he's very highly thought of. He was with Barcelona as a youth coach for a long time. He worked with the Aspire Academy in Qatar for a long time. And then he worked with the Qatari national setup, including a 5-year spell with their senior team. He has been manager of Ecuador. They've now fired him, which I just think is bizarre that they made that decision after losing to Argentina, when undeniably there's been good progress in that team. I just think it's a really strange decision. But he's a coach I think would suit Brentford, a club that's looking for player development more than anything else. I think he's someone that would suit there. Venezuela, Fernando Batista. Again, you're not looking at a huge amount of experience. He was a long-time assistant. So you're looking at a club that's looking for kind of an older head, but doesn't have huge experience to go out and win stuff. I think he did a really impressive job with Venezuela. I think you're probably looking at someone that is looking to win in the margins. and stay in a division. So, I mean, Rayo Vallecano, maybe. I'll say Rayo Vallecano. Jamaica. Oh, God. Heimer Helgrimsson. Well, he's the new manager of Ireland. And I couldn't be less pleased. I genuinely couldn't be less pleased. Ireland have spent 9 months, give or take, looking for a replacement for Stephen Kenny. They interviewed just about everybody on the island. I had 2 interviews myself. I think Trev Downey was back for a 3rd interview. And this is what they've decided to do. I'm not even going to dignify the idea of giving him a job, because I think he's dreadful. So pass on him. The United States, Greg Berhalter, Salford, Uruguay, Bielsa. Real Betis. I like the fit of Real Betis. Panama, Thomas Christensen. So he was Leeds manager once, if you didn't know, back in 2017-18. Spent some time with Union, the club owned by Tony Bloom in Belgium. He's been a Panama manager now for 4 years, which is a little bit odd in itself, but maybe he enjoys the lifestyle. In fact, it's definitely the lifestyle, because other than the spell in England, which was less than a year, and the spell with Union, which was 1 year, he's always managed in places that's very warm. Larnaca and Hapoel in Cyprus, and now Panama. This man chases the sun. So we're going to send him to Boa Vista in Portugal, and that'll do him absolutely lovely. Bolivia, Antonio Carlos Zago. That looks like Ming the Merciless. Another one that's a journeyman in terms of the career. So we're looking for another Italian club that cycled through managers. I think we're going to go... Palermo are owned by the City Football Group now, aren't they? We will go... We'll go... Oh, Catania, they're in Serie C now, so that's too low of a level. I like it. But, now, you know what? We'll go Catania. That'll do them grand. Group D, Brazil, Dorival Jr. This guy's surely getting sacked. Surely he's getting sacked, because the players clearly don't have any respect for him. Complete journeyman. He has, he's won some bits. Nothing outside of his time at Flamengo really impresses me. And Flamengo bought their success. So I'm going to say we put him... Let's just stick him at PSG. Players don't respect the manager there ever, so we'll put him at PSG. Néstor Lorenzo of Colombia. He's done a tremendous job with an upstart team. I am going to say we put him... Girona. Team that overperforms. We'll go Girona. Paraguay. Daniel Garnero. Another journeyman manager. Spent a lot of his time in Paraguay the last 6 years, 5 years before he became manager. Actually longer than that. Guarani. He's been in Paraguay since 2015, 4 club jobs and then the national team job. Doesn't look like a whole lot of success to his name. So AZ Alkmaar, because why not? And then finally, Costa Rica, Gustavo Alfaro. There is a lot of Argentine managers, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Argentine managers, including Scaloni, obviously, of the 16 nations. Alfaro, yet another journeyman. So again, we're going to be leaning into stereotype, and we're going to send him to Foggia. We'll just put him at Foggia. Tomorrow I will do the Euros because I need something to talk about tomorrow. So I'll do the managers from the Euros tomorrow. We'll find them all new jobs. We might send them to South America just to be fun. Right, back after this. Right, welcome back. Unfortunately, the BBC has transcended itself into England FC, and we've got Gary Lineker saying England are on the brink of history, Southgate talking about how England were fantastic. We've got a piece here that states Southgate's on the brink of glorious vindication. Brilliance, luck and resilience, how England reached Euro 2024 final. There was no brilliance involved in any of it. Although, to be fair, the Watkins goal was tremendous. You've got lots of soft lads apologising to Southgate for whatever reason. I can't be arsed with any of this. 15 England fans arrested at Euros semi-final. Just can't learn to behave themselves. We're going to pick a combined 11, Spain versus England. We're going to pick a 4-2-3-1. The goalkeeper will be Unai Simon. The right back will be Danny Carvajal. Aymeric Laporte will be one centre back. See, Luke Shaw is not fit. Otherwise, he would be the left back over Cucurella. I know he's played the last 2 games, but he's clearly not fit. So we're going to go. I'm not a big fan of Cucurella. We put Lenormand at left back, and then we put Mark Guehi as the second centre back. Midfield is easy, obviously. Rodri is in. It comes down to Declan Rice or Fabian Ruiz. I think Ruiz had the better tournament, so I'm going to pick him. Danny Olmo or Jude Bellingham. Olmo's the better tournament, but Jude's the better player. We'll go with him. Right wing. Lamine Yamal. I mean, it just is. Left wing. You could move Saka across, which I'm tempted to do. Nico Williams has been excellent in the tournament, but I think I'm just going to go with Saka because I think he is the better player. And Kane is the better striker, so we'll go with him. We'll just put Rice in to stop the crying. So we get 6 Spanish players, which are Unai Simon, Danny Carvajal, Aymeric Laporte, and Robin Lenormand, with Mark Guehi, the sole English player in there. Rodri and Rice in midfield. Yamal, Bellingham and Saka behind Kane. I think that tournament not only walks the Euros, but would probably go and win the World Cup as well. Bayern Munich have confirmed the signing of João Palhinha. 42.3 million plus 4.2 million in add-ons. I think that's a really good signing for them, and a great move for him as well, obviously. Craig Bellamy says being Welsh manager is the best job in the world. Good stuff. Gossip. Paris Saint-Germain are set to rival Manchester United in the race to sign João Neves. Manchester United are not in any race to sign João Neves. Let's not be foolish here. Barcelona have agreed in principle a deal for Nico Williams. The article actually says they've agreed personal terms in principle, and I still don't believe that, but I do think they'll sign him. Manchester United are keen on signing Matthias de Ligt as quickly as possible. Congrats on wasting your money. United are also planning to bring in midfield reinforcements this summer before considering offers for Scott McTominay. McTominay was arguably the best midfielder last year. Arsenal have accepted a loan offer from Lazio for Nuno Tavares with an obligation to buy for between 6 and 7 million. That obligation to buy will be based on appearances, and if he doesn't perform well, you watch him disappear from that squad. Another failed transfer by Mikel Arteta and Edu Chelsea are not interested in Danny Olmo. Interesting. Jacob Greaves has completed his Ipswich Town medical ahead of his potential move. Great signing for Ipswich. Liverpool, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid are possible destinations for Adrian Rabiot. Bayern might be, Liverpool are not, and Real don't sign players of his ilk. Marseille are interested in Eddie Nketiah. I assume that's if the Greenwood deal doesn't go through. Bayern Munich want to sign Xavi Simons. I just don't like the fit with Elise and Musiala, because I think you'd be better off playing Musiala as the 10 and going and bringing in the new left winger. So you go Elise, Musiala and whoever. I don't see Xavi Simons playing left wing, because we just don't think he's quick enough. He's a good player, though. I just don't like the fit. Monaco will have rejected a £25.5 million bid from Nottingham Forest for Youssouf Fofana, who has agreed personal terms with AC Milan, and João Palhinha to Bayern. Yeah, there we go. Right, folks, that's me for today. I will see you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Sports Social Podcast Network.